Kathy with True Crime Files. How's everybody? I've just had to put my heating on. I'm really, really cold. It's only like 9 degrees out here, or 9 Celsius, I think we do. And it is so cold. I'm shivering. So if you see me go like this, don't worry, I'll survive. Genesis Reid. I covered this a few weeks ago, not so long ago, because I haven't been doing YouTube for that long. So it was only a few weeks ago. And it's a mystery. The mother's been charged for murder. No one's seen this child for several months before she was reported missing. And it is a strange concept of it. I'm not going to go into too many details because you're going to hear it all from my last video and this video as well. But we need to give a voice to these voiceless children. And I don't like it when I see missing children are not found. You know, it really hurts me. And we need to find them. We need to do something. And if anyone's seen something, they need to say something. And if Genesis Reid's mum has unalived her daughter, then she's a monster. She's not a parent. She's not a mother. She's a monster. Because that's what people are to me that kill their children or harm their children in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just going to play this. This was her arrest, not arrest thing. This was Alabama Enterprise wanted poster sort of thing missing, and that is the so-called monster. She looks a bit different now, though, I think. So I'm just going to play from Law and Crime for a minute. Please go to their channel and support them. I will try and cut out the adverts, but sometimes they catch me out a bit too quick. So let's have a look. Let me make sure that you're going to stream it. So if I add it to stage, I need to remove one or the other first. Bear with me. Right, now I should be able to add to stage. Enlarge the screen.
In Alabama, leading to an intense, weeks-long manhunt.
This investigation involved approximately 8,000 combined working hours, with personnel often working 16 to 18 hours per day.
And this week, a devastating breakthrough.
The evidence shows that Adrienne Reid killed her 2-year-old daughter. She literally threw her in the trash.
As the young girl's mom remains behind bars, investigators continue to piece together what went wrong.
And then she engaged in a 53-day-long campaign of deceit, lies, manipulation, and as previously stated, destruction of evidence, before she finally made her false report on February 16th.
We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you.
Nope, we don't do that. So yeah, like I said, I updated everyone, or didn't update anybody at the time. I just did cover her story because she needed to be found. But there's more news. So please listen out.
Which is a major breakthrough. Adrienne Reid of Enterprise, Alabama, is now charged with capital murder and abuse of a corpse in the death of her own 2-year-old daughter, Genesis Reid. She was reported missing back in February. Now, Adrienne Reid was already in jail when these charges came through on Monday, but it was for a different reason. And when you look at how things turned out so far, it just makes the situation look that much worse for the 33-year-old mom. And there's still missing pieces to the puzzle here. Will an alleged motive ever come to light? Genesis is still missing. Will we ever find her body? And why did it take weeks for her disappearance to reach the attention of law enforcement? So let's break down what we know thus far. This case began back on February 16th when police in Enterprise, Alabama received a chilling report.
Adrienne Reid reported her child missing at 3:10 a.m., stating that Genesis walked out the front door.
As horrible as it sounds, this type of situation could happen to anyone, a small child gaining access to an unlocked door and then wandering off in a matter of seconds. But in this particular case, police were suspicious right off the bat.
A thorough precursor search in the area did not result in any helpful leads of where Genesis had gone, and inconsistencies in Adrian's story resulted in more intense investigation. The father of Genesis, grandmother, other family members, and those that knew Genesis were contacted through the investigation and had been very cooperative with law enforcement. Mariah, a person of interest but not a suspect, was generated through Adrian, who gave very little to no assistance on how to contact.
Missing persons case, especially involving a young child, it is natural for investigators to speak with family members. And while most of them were reportedly cooperative with the situation, the police said that Adrian had inconsistencies in her story, and she gave a lead to a suspect with no way to contact them.
Although we are still investigating the whereabouts of Genesis, we are confident that Adrian made a false report that Genesis walked out of his apartment at 3 a.m. in the morning. Through the investigation, there's enough probable cause that has led to the arrest of Adrian. Adrian Reid has been charged with false reporting to local law enforcement authorities, a Class C felony due to the report alleging imminent danger to a person.
A day after Adrian reports her daughter missing, she is arrested and booked into the Coffee County Jail on a false reporting charge with an allegation of imminent injury to a person. And at this point, police say Adrian has become a primary suspect in the 2-year-old's disappearance, but no additional charges were filed at that time. So 2 days after that report comes in, we're at February 18th, Adrian made her first appearance in court.
During the hearing, Judge Wilson heard testimony from an Enterprise Police Department detective regarding facts and circumstances related to the current investigation into the disappearance of Reid. Based on the testimony, the state argued that Adrian Reid is the only known suspect in the disappearance of Genesis Reid. Adrian Reid has hidden and/or destroyed evidence relevant to this case, and Adrian Reid is a flight risk should she be released from custody. The standard bond schedule for a Class C felony in Alabama is $2,500 to $15,000. The state argued that the bond schedule amounts in this matter for a Class C felony are wholly unreasonable. We asked for a $1 million cash-only bond.
The judge grants the prosecutor's request, and Adrian is held in jail on a $1 million cash-only bond. That is a massive amount of money for a Class C felony in Alabama. But like the prosecutor said, when you look at the circumstances in this case, there's no one else investigators are looking at when it comes to the disappearance of Genesis. And there is still a lot to uncover, including when Genesis actually disappeared.
We are specifically requesting that anyone who had any type of personal relationship or social interaction with Adrian Reid between December 24th, 2025 and February 16th, 2026, please come forward.
Remember, Genesis was reported missing on February 16th, but now police are asking for information spanning back to December. According to a Facebook post from the Enterprise Police Department, quote, as the investigation progressed, detectives conducted multiple interviews and determined the child had not been seen in several weeks. Now, at this point, the situation is becoming even more critical. When Adrian originally reported her daughter missing, she allegedly vanished that same morning. But it's now alleged by police that Genesis could have been missing for a month and a half. And that is a much larger window of time and one that could severely impact this investigation.
Please know that we continue to investigate every lead and pursue every possible avenue in our efforts to bring resolution to this case. This includes ongoing witness interviews as well as detailed analysis of electronic devices and surveillance footage. Our commitment to locating Genesis and bringing her home remains unwavering. If you have any information about Genesis or you have Genesis, now's the time to come forward. Our investigators are methodically reviewing every lead. If you're involved in this case and choose not to come forward, be assured that we will identify you and pursue prosecution to the fullest extent of the law.
The search for 2-year-old Genesis continued for several weeks with the assistance of multiple agencies, including the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, and even neighboring states. And despite the massive search effort, she was still nowhere to be found. But on Monday, which, by the way, was Genesis's 3rd birthday, police held a news conference and announced a major breakthrough in this case.
March 9, 2026, Adrian Reid, the mother of Genesis Reid, had been formally charged with capital murder for the killing of a child under the age of 14 and abuse of a corpse.
In some ways, you could describe this part of the investigation as bittersweet from law enforcement, because it is safe to say in a case like this, the hope is that Genesis would be found alive, but
I haven't listened to all of this from Law and Crime on the case, but if they don't mention it, apparently they've arrested another suspect of person of interest, and that person of interest is Genesis Reid's older brother. So if they don't mention it in this, stay tuned, because I will add it to the end.
when you factor in her mom's disappearance timeline spanning back further than anticipated and a large-scale search with no results, Genesis's death was an unfortunate possibility. So how did law enforcement reach this conclusion? The Enterprise Police Chief shared the chilling details.
As investigators continued to follow leads and interview witnesses, information emerged indicating that Genesis had not been seen with Adrian since Christmas Day. Through the careful, methodical work of investigators, we have reached the heartbreaking and horrific conclusion that her mother, her caretaker, the one that should have been there to keep her safe, willfully murdered Genesis and placed her in a duffel bag and discarded her in a dumpster. Today, March 9th, 2026, Adrian Reid, the mother of Genesis Reid, had been formally charged with capital murder for the killing of a child under the age of 14 and abuse of a corpse. The last confirmed contact with family members occurred on December 25th, when Genesis visited relatives in Dothan for the Christmas holiday. That evening, she was returned to her residence in Enterprise with her mother. During the investigations, detectives obtained camera footage from a neighboring residence showing Adrian walking toward the apartment complex dumpster with a rolling duffel bag at approximately 11:30 p.m. on Christmas night. 2 days later, additional footage captured Adrian returning to the dumpster area carrying toys and other belongings belonging to Genesis.
Now, the allegations in this case that we've just learned this week, they're horrific. An alleged murder on Christmas night of a 2-year-old child reportedly thrown in a dumpster by her own mom. And that same mom then reports her missing nearly 7 weeks later. It's hard to imagine. But remember, Adrian Reid is presumed innocent until guilty. And there is a big piece of the puzzle still missing.
The investigation is far from over. Our focus now turns to bringing Genesis home to the community that loved her. The search and rescue process will be long and difficult, but our resolve remains unwavering. We will continue working until Genesis is brought home.
This landfill is over 100 acres of working space. But that does not deter us in any form or fashion. So as the investigation continued, we can proudly say that we narrowed it down between 200 and 100 feet square. I want to ask the public to keep praying for us. This is going to take a while. I'm going to ask you for your patience. We are determined to find her.
According to Coffee County Sheriff Scott Byrd, the excavation process in the Coffee County landfill will begin this week with assistance from experts in Atlanta. But Byrd said the search could take up to 10 weeks or more, especially given the nature of how many times the alleged duffel bag carrying Genesis's body was compacted before it reached the landfill. Now, finding Genesis's remains, it is important because it gives investigators a better understanding, potentially, of how she died, when she died, and above all, it gives that confirmation that she did die beyond circumstantial evidence in this case. So we're going to continue monitoring this search for Genesis closely, and we'll give you the latest information when it comes in. But in the meantime, when it comes to the legal process for Adrian Reid, she is due for an initial appearance later in the week on her new felony charges, capital murder and abuse of a corpse. And at that hearing, she is also expected to be held without bond. During this week's news conference, Coffee County District Attorney James Tarbox also spoke on the potential punishment that this 33-year-old mom could face.
Under Alabama law, if we are successful in our prosecution for capital murder and Adrian Reid is convicted, there are two possible punishments for a jury to decide: life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. During the court proceedings of this case, our office will have to formally elect whether we are seeking the death penalty. I am committed at that time to fully evaluating the case file and evidence before making a final decision on the death penalty. However, I am formally announcing today that based upon everything I know at this point about this case, this is having been with our officers, our deputies, and our agents for most of this investigation, day in and day out since February 16th, our office will be seeking the death penalty in this case. The evidence shows that Adrian Reid killed her 2-year-old daughter. She literally threw her in the trash. And then she engaged in a 53-day long campaign of deceit, lies, manipulation, and as previously stated, destruction of evidence before she finally made her false report on February 16th. Her conduct speaks for itself, and I believe this preliminary decision to seek the death penalty conforms to our community's beliefs about this case and our shared values about how we value and seek to protect the most innocent among us, our children.
So the Coffee County District Attorney says that he plans to pursue the death penalty against Adrian Reid, although it appears the decision is not legally set in stone just yet. It's important to remember with death penalty cases, a conviction does not automatically mean the death sentence. And in Alabama and most other jurisdictions, the trial is separated into a guilt phase, and then you have the penalty phase. A jury will first have to determine if the defendant is guilty of capital murder. Then the jury will be presented additional evidence in a separate proceeding before deciding if the defendant will receive life in prison without parole or whether they will be put to death. We're going to continue monitoring Adrian's upcoming hearing for more updates on how this all plays out. That truth is that no amount of justice, no punishment could ever bring back the precious life of a 2-year-old girl who the community worked so tirelessly for to try and bring home safely, but the community now working tirelessly to make sure she is not forgotten.
This is a very sad day for all of us, not just here at Enterprise, but across the country, our county, state, and beyond. I want to thank the law enforcement community and the many agencies who have worked so tirelessly on this case at every level. I am grateful for the support we have received from neighbors, friends, and people everywhere who have offered help, encouragement, and prayers. From the very start, our thoughts and our hearts have been with Genesis, and we have lifted up this little girl in our prayer. Now it is time to see that justice is done for her and to bring some measures of peace and closure to everyone who has cared so deeply. May God continue to watch over our community and give us strength as we move forward.
Join us now to talk more.
Right. So what I'll do, I'll bring this other image that I want to share with you. Stop showing that one. Oh, it's disappeared. Never mind. I can go back to it. Share screen. Facebook. Might help if I put my glasses on, wouldn't it? So I'm just checking you can see what I can see. A minute. Right, so I'll read that bit out for you. Let me go back to the Facebook page. Oh, where's it gone? There. So on the 11th of March, just a couple of days ago, by the Live and Tells Collective, new suspicion emerges in the Genesis Reid case. Police have turned their attention to Genesis Reid's older brother after officers reported noticed him smiling to himself during the intense search for the 2-year-old. The moment caught the investigators' attention and led to further questioning. According to preliminary investigative results, detectives believe his statements may hold key details about what happened to Genesis before she disappeared and what authorities have uncovered. So this is the picture. I'll just check you can see it. Pictures of him. But let's go onto that link for you. So new suspicion emerges as flipping adverts. Bear with me. New suspicion merges into the Genesis Reid case. Police have turned their attention to Genesis Reid's older brother after officers reportedly noticed him smiling to himself during the tense search for the 2-year-old. The moment caught the investigators' attention and led to further questioning, according to investigative results. Detectives believe his statements may hold key details about what happened before Genesis disappeared and what authorities have uncovered now. So that's the thing. So all it says is the latest twist and heartbreaking disappearance of 2-year-old Genesis Reid has shifted investigative focus towards a surprising figure, her older brother. As authorities in Enterprise, Alabama continue their search for the toddler, they now believe they have met a tragic fate. New suspicions have arisen after officers observed the brother displaying what they described as unusual demeanor during the critical phase of the inquiry. So that may not mean nothing. It may mean nothing about him. He might have learning difficulties like ADHD, anything like that may make him not be aware of his social awareness around him. So, what we all would deem as sad and serious, if he's got any of those sort of like mental health issues, disabilities, he may seem it funny. It may not be that he is a suspect. So, like I say, all this is hearsay, and nothing's proven as gospel. So it's all to be taken with a little bit of that and a little bit of this. But he is an adult. I don't know how old he is. I haven't read into that far. But yeah, it may mean nothing and it may mean something. So this observation captured amid the chaos of volunteers, family members and law enforcement combing the area around the family's apartment complex on Apache Drive, prompted detectives to pull the brother aside for deeper questioning. Results from those interviews suggest his account contains inconsistencies and omissions that could prove pivotal. Sources close to the investigation indicate that he is now viewed as a potential involved or not in the direct harm to Genesis, but concealing critical details that may have altered the timeline or understanding of the events leading up to her vanishing. So we need to, I'm going to try and keep an eye on this. I don't know his name at the moment. But yeah, so hopefully we will get to know more about it. So we all know that Adrienne contacted the authorities claiming her daughter had wandered out of their home overnight through an open door. Police quickly grew skeptical as there was no signs of false entry, no credible sightings of the child in the neighborhood, and inconsistencies in the mother's timeline. So like Law and Crime said, they believe that she's not been seen since Christmas Day. They think she may have been thrown away as trash. So you know, her older brother just might know a bit more details in what's happened. So we will watch out on this. And it was nice to see the news press. They were wearing light pink, which is Genesis' favourite colour. So it was nice to see the officers were supporting that. So yeah, so authorities have stressed that the brother is not currently charged with any crime related to Genesis' death. His status remains of a person of interest in the obstruction angle. Someone who's withheld information may have hindered the early stages of probe. Detectives continue interviewing him, cross-referencing his statements against phone calls, witness accounts, and digital forensics. Any proven intent to mislead could lead in charges like hindering the prosecution, tampering with evidence, or conspiracy after the fact. Let's see. Don't know if there was another news presser from that one. I must admit, due to various things, I haven't been on the Genesis Facebook group that often. Let's just see what they say. Oh, and then the 9th of March, they were saying major breakthrough in the case of Genesis Nova Reid. New suspicion falls on ex-boyfriend. But, you know, it is all suspicions. You know, till they dive deeper into this, none of us are really going to know. Just check you can see this page. Yeah, so let me go back. So, yeah, so this was like a week ago, mysterious disappearance of Genesis Nova Reid. Yeah, so they just think it could be her ex-boyfriend there. But, you know, there is a lot of rumours, and unfortunately, a lot of the untruths. I'll just scroll through the page so you can see it yourself. She was super cute there, look. When there's false news going out, then that travels really quickly compared to the truth. Bad news travels faster than truth news does. So we need to find them. This lad here, I also did a video on him, Jacob Pritchett. He's still missing. So, and then there was another little girl. She was missing, but luckily she was found. So yeah, so if you could like and share my video, I'd really appreciate that. We need to find out what's happened to Genesis, whether it's the mother, the ex-boyfriend, or the older brother that's hindered the investigation to the correct timeline. But either so, it may be the mother has murdered her and the other two were involved in some way or shape or form. So if you can like and subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate that. It just helps me to get out in the broader put my tongue back in my mouth. It helps me to get into the YouTube's algorithms on a wider forecast. So I appreciate that. See you to the next one.